2023 has been an insane year for anime. We've seen more shows produced than ever before, with some absolute bangers, and some absolute dog water.
What the fuck?
And one of my favorite things at year's end is to see which of these animes stood out above the rest and will be nominated for the Anime Awards. However, the Anime Awards can kinda suck sometimes, so I decided to make my own award show for 2023. There are a few things that will be different, so make sure to take note. I understand they got a whole panel who has to decide on the anime that gets selected, but that cutoff time is in like fucking October, so you miss out on a huge chunk of shows that aired that year. I'm pretty sure this year we're gonna have like Chainsaw Man and Bleach Part 1, even though they finished airing in 2022. So for my awards, if the show ended in 2023, then it's eligible. It can start in 2022, but it has to end in 2023. So a show like Blue Lock is eligible, but Free Ren, which is still airing, is not. Also, we all know that the Anime Awards are a popularity contest, and a large majority of the populace's opinions are trash, so I will be using a much better voting system myself.
I too am extraordinarily humble.
These are all going to be from shows that I watched during this year, so if I don't include something that you think should be on this list, then it's probably because I didn't watch it. We have 18 fantastic hand-chosen categories from, again, myself, that will receive 4 nominations and then 1 overall winner. I just thought that this would be a fun video to make so you can see, 1, what I actually chose to watch this year, and 2, what anime I think are deserving of some extra praise.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If you want to tell me your personal winners, make sure to do so in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Thank you all so much for a great 2023. Now let's get into the awards. What better category to open this up with than the things used to open up animes? This will be the category for the best opening of 2023. A lot of people kind of skip over these, but I personally really enjoy them, and if a show has a good opening, it might actually just make me watch it. And 2023 was no stranger to some absolute bangers. The nominees are Tatsuya Katani, Where Our Blue Is, Jujutsu Kaisen, Bish, Innocent Arrogance, Heavenly Delusion, Survive Said the Prophet, Paradox, Vinland Saga, By Shaw Jaws, Vortex, Link Click. And the winner is By Shaw Jaws, Vortex, Link Click. This was actually a lot more difficult than I had anticipated. Specifically, I think that the best song actually on this list is the one by Bish, The Innocent Arrogance. But when you look at everything that encapsulates the opening Vortex for Link Click, just the way it was produced and what it means to the actual show and how it relates, I couldn't pass up on this. There's actually a really good video that I'd recommend you guys watching that shows about the production of the song. And the reverse part of the chorus isn't just put into reverse. No, the singer from Jaws had to actually sing the reversed parts because the instruments are playing normally in that. So the amount of production that they had to put into that and just like skillfully master it to make it sound good is incredible. And the way that it matches with the song, there's like so much emotion filled within it. And if you haven't seen Link Click already, you need to give it a shout because the music is just one thing, but the show itself is incredible. And of course, what would be anime openings without anime endings? You gotta have a good ending as well. Just kind of wraps up the entire episode, and it can really make you continue the feels that you just witnessed in that episode. And again, 2023 had some awesome songs. The nominees for Best Anime Ending are Totome no Ichigeki, Vondi featuring Corey Wong, Spy Family, Soishi Sakiyama, Akari, Jujutsu Kaisen, Fanka in By Shaw Jaws, The Tides, Link Click, Yo Kamiyama, End Roll, Bleach 1000-Year Blood War, and the winner is Soushi Sakiyama, Akari, Jujutsu Kaisen. You know, I only have one complaint about this ending, and it's that it wasn't used in more episodes, similarly to that of the one by Tatsuya Katani. We only got them for those like 5 flashback episodes, and I think both of those songs are significantly better than what we got in the Shibuya arc. But this one, you feel that emotion, then it's got that cool little like rap breakdown. Just love the song altogether, and it was an instant stick out for me this year. And let's just go ahead and wrap up our final music category today, the best anime score. This is going to be all of our music that we hear within the episodes, the stuff that really ties these hype moments and intense moments together. And I think 2023 especially stood out in this regard. There was some actually crazy soundtracks. The nominees for best anime score are Yoshimasa Terui, Jujutsu Kaisen; Yoshiaki Fujisawa, Mushoku Tensei; Shiro Sagisu, Bleach, Thousand Year Blood War; Yugo Kano, Pluto; and the winner is Yoshimasa Terui, Jujutsu Kaisen. Despite the music in this being absolutely incredible, I think the thing that really pushed it over the top for me was that how I wasn't expecting the particular tracks to play at the certain parts. Like, you have things where when Gojo learns the reversed curse technique and you get this like piano, almost like angelic playing, and then you have things when he's trying to clear out all the curses, you have this like super upbeat Caravan-esque from Whiplash, you know, drumming going in the back. It's super crazy, and you just really don't expect the songs that are going to be playing, but all of them are such bangers, and there's a lot of different styles of music that we see throughout Jujutsu Kaisen in Season 2, and I think just based on the overall uniqueness is what made it my favorite. And if there's one thing I enjoy as much as the beeps and the boops, it is the pretty colors, which brings us to our next category, the best art direction. I consider art direction the animation as well as things like the background shots, because those are often standstills, so all these are going to be really nice. I don't think I'm going to have footage for all of the nominees, but just know they're all pretty, and you'll get to see a lot of the winner. The nominees for Best Art Direction are Bleach, Thousand Year Blood War; Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead; Heavenly Delusion, Jujutsu Kaisen. And the winner is Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead by Bug Films. If you need one thing to convince you about Zom 100's art, just watch the first episode. It's like an actual movie.
That shit beautiful than a motherfucker.
I know they had some delays here and there with the show, but the art is actually fantastic, and the way that they kind of do a playful like paint splatter rather than like the blood gives this like almost comedic effect to the zombie apocalypse, which is kind of the whole point of the show. It's filled with color in every situation, and it was honestly just a joy to look at. And for this studio's first anime, I mean, it was absolutely beautiful, so I have to give it up to Bug Films. Zom 100 is just a treat for your fucking eyes. Now, as a man, and a simpleton at that.
Ooh, self-burn. Those are rare.
There's nothing that quite gets me going as much, just a good old-fashioned fight scene. You got people throwing fists, maybe some magic, maybe some swords, you know, people beating ass, getting their ass fucked, not in that way, of course, but there was so many good fight scenes. I could have had 20 nominees all from Jujutsu Kaisen in this, and that's not to mention all of the other insane shows out there. We honestly were eaten this year when it came to fight scenes, so it's gonna be hard for me to pick just 4. The nominees for Best Fight Scene are Sukuna vs. Jogo, Jujutsu Kaisen; Rukia vs. Asnote, Bleach, Thousand Year Blood War; Sukuna vs. Mahoraga, Jujutsu Kaisen; Gojo vs. Toji, Jujutsu Kaisen; and the winner is Sukuna vs. Mahoraga, Jujutsu Kaisen. Bruh, I did not think that this was gonna be as hard as it was, but this has easily been the hardest category for this entire award show that I'm doing here. There were too many good fight scenes. Like I said, Jujutsu Kaisen had so many, and I left out some insane ones. You know, you could include the one where it's Geto versus Toji. You could have Toji versus Megumi. You could have Mahito versus, like, literally everybody. There was so many good ones. Then you had all of Bleach, which had some crazy ones. I didn't even have Kenpachi versus Gremmy. Marshall had some really nice ones in there. Hell's Paradise was kind of goated. But man, Jujutsu Kaisen was just on a whole nother level. And this fight specifically just hit differently than all of the other fights that hit also differently. You got Megumi summoning this Shikigami that had never been tamed, essentially kills him, goes on to fight Sukuna. You see all of these insane fights. It keeps adapting to the situations, and then you get to see the domain expansion. I mean, this was so hard. I was between this and the fight versus Jogo, because I thought that was crazy as well. But it's like you're choosing the GOAT from the GOAT. It's at the end of the day, there's two GOATs, just one is a slightly different GOAT. That's basically what it is. But man, there was so many good fight scenes this year. If fight scenes are good at doing one thing, it's getting you hype. But that doesn't mean they're the only hype things about anime. Nah, there's a ton of other scenes that just get you amped up where the people don't gotta be throwing their dukes around. So I'd like to introduce you to Hypest moment in Anime 2023, where we focus on these moments that gave us that feeling with it not necessarily being part of a fight. The nominees for Hypest anime moment are Mosh practices gender equality, Marshall.
Huh? 僕は 男女平等に扱うから
Isagi devours Baro, Blue Lock. Rudius gets a boner, Mushoku Tensei.
That's what she was there for. That was the plan. To give you a boner. And you got one.
Kenpachi uses Shikai, Bleach 1000-Year Blood War. And the winner is Isagi devours Baro, Blue Lock. Alright, I know I said for these that I kind of wanted to avoid fight scenes in general. There's a couple quote-unquote fight scenes that these happen in, but a little bit of caveats in between. Like the Marshall one, he's already beaten Silva, and the girl thinks that she can get off scot-free, but nah, he hits him, but she hits him with the suplex. It was so crazy when I saw that. Same with Kenpachi. At that point, he's not actually fighting Gremmy, he's fighting a Meteor, and just proceeds to use a Shikai for the first time. It was super hype. But if you're looking for like hype moments that just weren't fights, I think sports animes are a way to do it, and Blue Lock especially had some sick animation along with these just insane moments. Isagi absolutely alphas the shit out of Baro. He got that dog in him. The effects on this were crazy, how it goes to kind of silent, and then you just see him just ask for the ball, and then the finish at the end is so insane as well. This 100% undoubtedly was my favorite hype moment of the year. Now, as much as we love our beeps and boops, pretty colors, and people beating the shit out of each other, anime would be nowhere without the performance of the voice actors.
Years ago, I was Chinese.
They're responsible for bringing these characters to life, and 2023 had more great performances than I could even count, so I wanted to make sure we had a category to honor those who had good performances. This is the best voice acting performance for males. The nominees are Nobunaga Shimazaki, Mahito, Jujutsu Kaisen. Yoshitsugu Matsuoka, Ass Note, Bleach 1000-Year Blood War. Yuto Uemura, Thorfinn, Vinland Saga. Natsuki Hanae, Tanjiro, Demon Slayer. And the winner is Nobunaga Shimazaki, Mahito, Jujutsu Kaisen. JJK had its fair share of insane performances. I know you could include Nanami. He had a great one in there. Sukino was always really good. Toji had a great performance as well. But Mr. Shimazaki had no business making Mahito this crazy. Like, I'm actually talking insane. The performances of, like, mocking Yuji and just screaming at the top of his lungs to becoming, like, a blabbering idiot near the end was one of the craziest performances I think I've seen in anime, period. He was able to make this character so unlikable and then make me so happy when he finally got what he deserved. The performance was spectacular and I think well deserving of this award. And of course, can't leave out the female side of voice acting, and they had just as many, if not more, fantastic performances. So this is the category for Best VA Performance Female. The nominees are Reina Ueda, Mio, My Happy Marriage.
落ち込んだ時にここに来るといつも心が安らぐのだけどもうここにも来れなくなるのね
Ai Kayano, Sylphie, Mushoku Tensei.
もしルーデウス君に逆らったら僕が魔術を発動させてその入れ墨を一生残すからね
Mayumi Sako, Arnheid, Vinland Saga.
ガルザルが見張りの人をそれで二人とももう死ぬと
Saori Hayami, Your, Spy Family.
もしこれで茨姫の仕事を最後にしたなら
And the winner is Mayumi Sako, Arnheid, Vinland Saga. Honestly, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing this name right. It's a difficult one to say. I don't know if there's an actual, like, Nordic pronunciation versus how they pronounce it in the Japanese version. But I don't know. I was surprised also that I was impacted this much by the voice acting performance of a more supporting character, although she does play a pretty decent role in here. The whole thing that she goes through from kind of just being almost lifeless as a slave to finding out that her husband's alive and the mixture of emotions that she goes through, as well as her relationship with Einar, you just get this whole realm of emotions on here. Not to mention that the other performances were great as well. I mean, I had a really hard time picking between this and Mio. I thought Mio and My Happy Marriage was fantastic. But when just watching Vinland Saga, and then whenever we got to see those parts of Arnheid's just emotion come through, whether it was like the nurturing aspect of her or like being sad, like it really stuck with me while I was watching that. So I think she is well deserving of the Best VA Performance. Yeah, safe to say we had some pretty insane voice acting performances, but what about just the character in general? Like, which characters, for lack of a better term, carried the show that they were in?
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
These are just the characters that either had the biggest impact on the show or maybe had the biggest development, and overall, without them, the show wouldn't be as good as it was. So with that, we're going to be doing just the best character in all of anime for 2023. The nominees are Thorfinn, Vinland Saga,
俺たちの生きる世界にそれだけをみんな求めていたのに
Mio, My Happy Marriage,
旦那様の妻になんて幸せにだなんてふさわしくないのよ
Mosh, Marshall,
10回耐えるんでしょ格の違い見てみたいなあと8回残ってるし
Megumin, Konosuba, An Explosion on This Wonderful World.
我が名はメグミンアークイザードをなりわいとし最強の攻撃魔法爆裂魔法を操る者
And the winner is Thorfinn, Vinland Saga.
なんだその質問は和平交渉の相手をぶん殴ってりゃ世話ねえぜ
You can look all over anime for 2023, and there were a lot of impactful characters to their shows, but no character had the amount of character development as Thorfinn, going from just essentially a lifeless dude who only knows war fighting to actually having some morals, being able to think for himself, and just kind of being way more understanding. The development in Season 2 is crazy. I know a lot of that is kind of thanks to people like Einar, Snake, the old man on the farm to kind of like help him progress, but as a character itself, Thorfinn was crazy. I mean, these other ones were good too. You obviously have your influences. You know, like Mio has Kyoka, and Megumin has Yun. Mosh really is just kind of on his own, actually. Mosh did carry the hell out of that show, but in terms of development, you gotta go with Thorfinn. It was absolutely insane. I know people were like, there's not as much fighting in this, but in terms of pure like story and narrative, Vinland Saga went absolutely dummy. Now, before we get into some of the awards for the actual shows, I wanted to first show some love to the animation studios because without them, these anime would have never came out.
I appreciate you.
There was a ton of great work put out by a ton of talented individuals this year under what was probably not the best working conditions, but I did want to showcase some of the studios that I thought were standouts this year. The nominees for Best Animation Studio are A1 Pictures, Kaguya-sama, Mashle, Nier Automata, MAPPA, Jujutsu Kaisen, Vinland Saga, Attack on Titan. Lead in Films, Tokyo Revengers, Rurouni Kenshin, Insomniacs After School. Studio Pierrot, Bleach, Thousand Year Blood War, Black Clover, Sword of the Wizard King, Yuzuki Family's Four Sons. And the winner is Studio MAPPA. I'm sure no one's surprised about this, but first off, I want to say this is an award for all the hardworking people at the studio, not the executives, because we have seen that they have not had the greatest treatment over there, but I just wanted to say I am very thankful to everyone who worked on the production side of things, getting this out under what was probably some intense working conditions and probably not great time constraints either. They made some of the best anime I've seen in my life during this year, so hard respect to them. I can't imagine the stress that they must have been under for that, and hopefully working conditions can improve. But along with the ones that I said, you know, they did Vinland Saga, Attack on Titan, Jujutsu Kaisen, they also did Hell's Paradise. They did that campfire cooking show, which was, it was okay. But they also did movies. They did like Mabaroshi in there. So they were definitely cooking up, and they had just finished Chainsaw Man going into the year. So MAPPA was always consistent and always bringing on a bunch of new projects. So hopefully they can get to a point to where the people are also happy to work there. But all of these studios as well made some great shows this year, and just thankful to have them all come out. All right, we should probably just get into some awards now for the actual shows in general. And let's just start on a good note with the best comedy. Honestly, when it comes to comedy and anime, ones that try to specifically be a comedy anime, I don't end up liking because maybe it's a difference in Western and Eastern humor, but I like ones that have aspects of comedy built within them and don't try too hard to make jokes. So these are the nominees for Best Comedy Anime. They are Mashle, Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead, Konosuba, An Explosion on This Wonderful World, The Eminence in Shadow. And the winner is The Eminence in Shadow. This was kind of a hard one to pick because a lot of these shows feel pretty similar. They have their actual story, but just have a lot of comedic moments within. Mashle is kind of similar to that of like One Punch Man. A little bit too much deadpan humor maybe for me. Konosuba with Megumin is very similar to The Eminence in Shadow, but I think I like Konosuba more when we're able to riff off all the other characters like Aqua, Darkness, and Kazuma. And I think Zom 100 kind of surprised me with the amount of comedy involved, but I really like those like parody isekai shows like Konosuba and The Eminence in Shadow, and I found the humor in Eminence in Shadow to be kind of right along there with Konosuba, and I think they just delivered on a few more jokes than that, so I had to go with that one. Really enjoyed it. The stuff with like Sid just being kind of completely oblivious but yet being so overpowered is quite funny. The dynamics they create with like his friends and stuff was really good, and I think well deserving of the best comedy of 2023. And to just keep that train rolling, yeah, fuck your happiness, it's time for the sadness. We're going now into the Feels Are Reels category. Essentially, these are the anime that, well, made you not feel the greatest. They could have been good, but they didn't make you feel good. Just ones that had a lot of sad moments and emotional moments in deep within. And I kind of like these as shows as well. You don't want to be happy all the time, right? Maybe I'm masochistic. Who knows? But these are the nominees for the Feels Are Reels category. The nominees are Jujutsu Kaisen, My Happy Marriage, Link Click, Oshi no Ko. And the winner is My Happy Marriage.
望んでしまった。少しでも長くこの人と共にいたいと。後でいくらでも。
Bit of an interesting name to call this anime My Happy Marriage, as there's a lot of sadness in this one. Honestly, man, Mio is such a good character. She's so nice and just doesn't deserve any of the treatment she gets. But it's also very wholesome to see her kind of start to open up a little bit more as she like gets with her husband and just kind of live an decent life rather than being a slave and like berated all the time. But man, she goes through a lot of stuff and it just really hit me in the heartstrings. A lot of these ones as well. JJK people went through so much crap as well in this arc with like death. Link Click, if you haven't seen, man, that one also was a real tearjerker. And I actually didn't even finish Oshi no Ko, which is why you haven't seen it on here that much, but I was about halfway through, and let me tell you, there was some quite emotional moments in there. But My Happy Marriage, I mean, it should have just been called My Depression, because that's how I felt watching it. Still a great show though, but man, it was sad. Now let's teleport ourselves to another world, a world of fantasy perhaps, with the best fantasy show of 2023. When I think of fantasy, I just think of some like improbable things occurring in a world that isn't exactly like normal life. So it's a bit of a broad definition, but I think most of these kind of fit the fantasy description. The nominees for Best Fantasy are Mushoku Tensei, The Eminence in Shadow, Dead Mount Deathplay, Demon Slayer, and the winner is Mushoku Tensei. I mean, it's just so good. Mushoku Tensei I know is much slower in Season 2 than it was in Season 1, but I think the ED, aka the boner arc, was fantastic as well, with world building, as well as character development for everyone involved, like Sylphie and Rudius. The colors were insane, the voice acting, incredible, music was out of this world. One of my favorite seasons just in general of anime, although it was, like I said, a bit slower. I think it was the best at kind of developing that fantasy setting and making you feel like you are on a journey. Again, if this was like maybe ones that started in 2023, Freerun might be on here, but that is still airing, so I don't consider that part of 2023, so gotta give it to Mushoku here. Now let's get into a couple of like more personal awards. I got a couple of ones on here just based on my overall thoughts, maybe going into a show or something I didn't expect while watching that may have surprised me, may have disappointed me, so that's where we're going to have a couple of categories for. The first one is going to be the most underrated. And what I mean by this is a show that I watched that I really liked, but just didn't see a lot of people talking about. And the nominees for the most underrated anime are Overtake, Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead, Kart, Link Click, and the winner is Link Click.
即使知道死亡是不能改变的节点，但我也想用最后的机会回到一切的开始。
I mean, as the category described, I think these are all very underrated shows. Link Click especially, mainly because it is Chinese. A lot of people might not be kind of keen to watch it versus just traditional anime, even though it's like it's a donghua, I believe is what they call it. But Link Click Season 1 got a good amount of praise and kind of coverage even in the YouTube community. But Season 2 came out just as good, a bit different from what we saw in Season 1, but I really rarely heard anybody talking about it. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Season 3 was already confirmed as well, so I'm really looking out for that. But any of these shows are really good. Overtake, a show about racing that I wasn't expecting to be as good. Zom 100, I feel didn't have many people talk about it because of the delays it had. And then Kart, just a random mixed media project that had great colors, cool soundtrack, kind of a James Bond-esque kind of style to it. Really enjoyed all of these, but out of all of them, Link Click for me is always going to have a special place, and I think well deserving of most underrated. Now, while some shows are underrated, some are actually a bit disappointing. These were shows that I was either going into with high expectations or started watching based on a cool premise, and they ultimately just fell flat for me. The nominees for most disappointing anime are Bungo Stray Dogs, Hell's Paradise, Demon Slayer, My Home Hero, and the winner is Demon Slayer. I had already made a video kind of about Demon Slayer, Season 3, The Swordsmith Village, and thought it was pretty weak. I don't think they handled their time very well. And then I thought the whole thing of like, oh, Nezuko's the strongest demon, basically, Sun Knight doesn't hurt her. I just thought the whole thing was kind of managed poorly, and Ufotable's animation couldn't even carry it for me. And it really kind of just let me down. It was just such a wet noodle of a season, in my opinion. But some of these other ones, Bungo Stray Dogs, one of my favorite animes, and my favorite character is Dazai, but when you have so many moving parts, if you keep making some crazy, unrealistic scenario, it gets to the point where you have to eventually come to a solution, and then it just became so convoluted, and it really just kind of took me out of the story. Hell's Paradise is a little bit of a... I kind of feel bad doing it, but there's started to be a lot of animation inconsistencies, and again, I know Mappa didn't really treat people the best, but yeah, I just felt some stuff just didn't really hit. They had really good animation one episode, and the other one just felt very different. Just a lot of inconsistencies there. And then My Home Hero had such a cool concept, but then the main character was kind of ended up being kind of meh, and his daughter was the main thing that I just absolutely hated. But yeah, Demon Slayer for me. I like the show, but season 3 just didn't hit for me.
I'm not gonna hit you.
Now, while some shows were disappointing, as I mentioned, some were also surprising. These were shows where I went in with basically no expectations, and I came out with them thinking, wow, that was actually pretty good. The nominees for Most Surprising Anime are Trigun Stampede, Pluto, My Happy Marriage, Undead Murder Farce, and the winner is Trigun Stampede. I originally wasn't even going to watch Trigun because it was a 3D anime, and although I'm not really against it, I also don't really seek it out, but I was proven incredibly wrong. Studio Orange is probably the best studio when it comes to 3D and anime. Plus, the colors are insane, the voice acting was great, and the story was a different take on the original Trigun, a retelling, and I found myself very engaged throughout it. Definitely something that I had no expectations going in while watching and came out thinking, wow, yeah, this was actually really good. Same with the other ones. Pluto I know was like a beloved story, but I didn't know much about it and watched it. Ended up being incredible. My Happy Marriage, again, not really my type of stuff, the romance stuff, but I really enjoyed it and following the kind of journey of Mio. And then with Undead Murder Farce, it's just kind of like a goofy version of like Sherlock Holmes, but I didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I did. Kind of this headless person in a birdcage in some weird demon man solving mysteries, but quite enjoyed it. But of them, Trigun Stampede really stood out to me the most. Now we're going to the category where, if you watch these anime, you might be on an FBI watch list.
Officer, right there. FBI, come on in, fellas.
This is the WTF Anime of 2023. Either these ones shouldn't have been created for specific reasons, or they just were complete dog shit. And listen, I know one is going to reign supreme, but there were a few that were just kind of like, this didn't need to be made, and I'll tell you about them. But before, I should say, I did not watch these. I actually had to turn them off because I couldn't force myself to go through this. I felt like some of these might have just gotten me jail time, so I had to pass. The nominees for What the Fuck Anime are My One-Hit Kill Sister, A Girl and Her Guard Dog, My Life as Inukai-san's Dog, Ayakashi Triangle, and the winner is My Life as Inukai-san's Dog.
This is dog. Woof, 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 woof.
I'm not kidding. The show is about a chick who wants to fuck her dog, basically. Guy gets reincarnated as a dog. The girl is attracted to her dog. It's weird. I watched a little part of it because, I'm a little curious at first, and I watched it. It couldn't be legal. I just thought it can't be legal. Should have never been made. How is this marketed as an anime? It should have just been a hentai. And even at that, who wants to watch that? It's a dog. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? It was the weirdest fucking decision. I was like, redo a healer? It almost seems like, well, not really, because there's a lot of weird stuff in there, but this is just strange beyond belief. One Hit Kill Sister, I'm not really great with the whole brother complex thing. Girl and Her Guard Dog, don't you love a bit of grooming? Child grooming, everyone's favorite, right? And Ayakashi Triangle also kind of felt the same. It just felt too childlike with some of the themes that were present in said show. The 10 minutes I watched of the first one, I will never get back, and it will remain ingrained in my memory and not in a great place either. So it's well deserving, but for a bad reason. And now that leaves us with only one award, and that is the Anime of the Year. This is the anime that, to me, I thought stood out above the rest and was my favorite of the entire year of 2023. And because this is the biggest award, we're going to have a couple more nominees rather than just the standard 4. The nominees for Anime of the Year are Blue Lock, Jujutsu Kaisen, Vinland Saga, Mushoku Tensei, Bleach, Thousand Year Blood War, Link Click, and the winner is Jujutsu Kaisen. I had a really hard time picking between this. I was really down at the end between JJK and Vinland Saga. Now, while I think Vinland Saga might be an overall better package, like objectively with the story and everything, I just think JJK delivered more for me personally. Watching these characters, the fight scenes, the animation that was involved, the highs, the lows from all the characters, lots of emotion involved. I felt my overall enjoyment was a little bit higher in JJK than Vinland, and that's why I had to go with it. And also, it's considered one of the better arcs in Shonen, and I think they well delivered. A couple people were like, the ending wasn't the greatest, but I actually loved it. I thought it was a great setup for what's to come. I know it's not going to be out until like 2025. Hopefully that's enough time for these animators to work on it, but JJK really did hit home, and I'm going to probably watch it a good amount of times after the fact, just in waiting for the next stuff to come out. I might watch Vinland Saga again maybe once, and again, great story. All of these were fantastic. I definitely recommend it. But for me personally, Jujutsu Kaisen was the best anime of 2023. Well, there you have it. We have a year in the books, moving on to 2024. That's the whole award show. I hope you guys did enjoy, just basically ones that I watched again. There could have been some that I missed on here, and that's just probably because not enough time to watch them. There was a ton of anime that came out. I wouldn't say there was a ton of bangers. A lot of the great shows, in my opinion, were continuations of old series. JJK Season 2, Vinland Saga Season 2, Mushoku Tensei 2, things of that nature, but I'm expecting 2024 to be insane. Like I said, we still have shows airing that are incredible, like Apothecary Diaries and Frieren have been some of my favorite shows just in general, so really looking forward to the finishing of those, as well as new shows coming out, like Solo Leveling's gonna be cool, I hope. So let me know what your guys' favorites were compared to all of my choices here on this awards. And again, thank you so much for the support over the year. I know I can't get the videos out incredibly fast because I am very busy with making other content and such, but I do appreciate everyone who watches. And if you enjoyed this, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. I will talk to you in the next one.